Right now, as you watch this, scientists around the world are staring at data that makes no sense, equations that break, observations that defy everything we thought we knew. We split the atom, we mapped the human genome, we sent robots to Mars. And yet, there are questions so fundamental, so basic, that the greatest minds in history have spent their entire lives trying to answer them and failed. What you're about to discover isn't fringe conspiracy. This is mainstream science admitting openly that we don't know, that we might never know, and some of these mysteries, they challenge the very nature of reality itself. So ask yourself, are you ready to confront the limits of human knowledge? Why do we sleep? You spend roughly 1/3 of your entire life doing it. Every single night you lose consciousness, become completely vulnerable, and enter a state where you can't eat, can't reproduce, can't defend yourself. From an evolutionary standpoint, sleep should have been eliminated millions of years ago. It's dangerous. It's inefficient. And yet every animal with a brain does it. Here's the disturbing part. Despite decades of research, billions of dollars, and the most advanced brain scanning technology ever created, we still don't know why. Sure, we have theories: memory consolidation, cellular repair, waste removal from the brain, but none of them fully explain why sleep is absolutely mandatory. Deprive a rat of sleep for about 2 weeks and it dies. Not from exhaustion, not from starvation. It just dies and we don't know why. Think about that. Something you do every single night. Something so essential that you'll die without it, and science cannot tell you the fundamental reason it exists. Your brain is keeping secrets from you. And it gets stranger, because sleep isn't the only thing your brain hides. The consciousness trap. Right now, you're aware that you're watching this video. You know you exist. You have an inner experience, a feeling of being you. But here's the question that has haunted philosophers and neuroscientists for centuries. Why? How does 3 pounds of wet tissue create the experience of being alive? We can map every neuron. We can track every electrical signal. We can observe which brain regions activate when you feel happy or sad or scared. But none of that explains how physical matter produces subjective experience. This is called the hard problem of consciousness, and it remains completely unsolved. Some scientists believe consciousness emerges from complexity, like how wetness emerges from water molecules. Others think consciousness might be fundamental to the universe itself, woven into the fabric of reality. And some argue we'll never solve it, because the brain trying to understand itself is like a knife trying to cut itself. The strangest part, we can't even prove that anyone else is conscious. For all you know, everyone around you could be a philosophical zombie, acting conscious but experiencing nothing inside. You can never truly know. And speaking of things we can't truly know, dark matter's secret. Look around you. Everything you see, everything you've ever touched, every star and planet and galaxy in the observable universe, accounts for only about 5% of what actually exists. The rest, invisible, undetectable, completely unknown. Scientists call it dark matter and dark energy, and these names are essentially admissions of ignorance. We know dark matter exists because galaxies spin too fast. Without some invisible mass holding them together, they should fly apart. But when we point our most sensitive instruments at the sky, searching for this mysterious substance, we find nothing. It doesn't emit light. It doesn't absorb light. It passes through ordinary matter like a ghost. We've built massive underground detectors, hoping to catch a single dark matter particle. For decades, they've sat in silence. Some physicists now wonder if dark matter exists at all, or if our understanding of gravity itself is fundamentally broken. Imagine discovering that 95% of reality is made of something you cannot see, touch, or measure. That's where we are right now. We're living in a universe we barely understand. But the mystery doesn't stop at the cosmic scale. Quantum madness. At the smallest scales of reality, the universe goes insane. Particles exist in multiple places simultaneously until you look at them. They teleport instantly across distances. They seem to know when they're being observed and change their behavior accordingly. This isn't science fiction. This is quantum mechanics, the most successful and most disturbing theory in physics. The double-slit experiment demonstrates something that should be impossible. Fire particles at a wall with 2 slits, and they create an interference pattern, as if each particle passed through both slits at once. But set up a detector to watch which slit the particle goes through, and suddenly it behaves normally, passing through only one. The particle somehow knows it's being watched. Einstein called this spooky action at a distance and refused to accept it until his death. But experiment after experiment proves it's real. Some physicists believe this means the observer creates reality. Others think there are infinite parallel universes branching off every moment. Nobody agrees because the math works perfectly while the meaning remains utterly mysterious. And if the small scale is bizarre, the origin of everything is even stranger. Before the Big Bang, 13.8 billion years ago, everything that exists exploded into being from a point smaller than an atom. Space itself expanded. Time itself began. But here's the question that physics cannot answer. What came before? Ask a cosmologist and they'll tell you the question doesn't make sense. Time began with the Big Bang, so there was no before. But that answer feels like a dodge, doesn't it? Something cannot come from nothing, or can it? Some theories suggest our universe bubbled off from a larger multiverse. Others propose that the Big Bang was actually a big bounce, our universe expanding and contracting in an endless cycle. A few physicists argue that asking what caused the universe is like asking what's north of the North Pole, a question that sounds meaningful but isn't. But none of these are proven. None of them can be tested. We're left with the most fundamental question imaginable. Why is there something rather than nothing? And science, for all its power, stands silent. The origin of existence remains beyond our reach, but the mysteries don't end at the beginning. They extend to something you're doing right now. The life puzzle. About 4 billion years ago, something extraordinary happened on Earth. Dead chemistry became alive. Molecules started copying themselves, consuming energy, evolving. But how? This is the origin of life problem, and despite centuries of research, we have no definitive answer. In 1953, Miller and Urey famously created amino acids, the building blocks of proteins, by simulating early Earth conditions. It seemed like we were close to solving the puzzle. But amino acids are not life. They're ingredients. Going from simple chemicals to a self-replicating cell is like going from iron ore to a working computer. The gap is enormous. RNA world theory suggests that self-replicating molecules came first, before DNA and proteins. But creating RNA from scratch has proven incredibly difficult in laboratory conditions. Some scientists now wonder if life began in deep-sea vents, or on clay minerals, or even arrived on meteorites from space. We've found the conditions, we've found the ingredients, but we cannot recreate the recipe. The spark that turned dead matter into living things remains one of science's deepest mysteries. And if the origin of life seems distant, what about its end? What about your end? The placebo paradox. A doctor gives you a sugar pill, tells you it's medicine, and somehow, impossibly, you get better. Your pain decreases. Your immune system strengthens. Real, measurable changes occur in your body from taking something that is chemically nothing. This is the placebo effect, and it violates everything we think we know about medicine and biology. Here's what makes it truly strange. The effect is getting stronger. Placebos work better today than they did 30 years ago, particularly in America. Drug trials are failing not because new medicines don't work, but because the placebo response keeps increasing. Even stranger, placebos work even when you know they are placebos. Studies have shown that telling patients they're taking a sugar pill doesn't eliminate the effect. Belief isn't even required. Something deeper is happening. Your mind is literally rewriting your biology through mechanisms we don't understand. Some researchers call this the meaning response, suggesting that the ritual of treatment itself triggers healing pathways. But that just pushes the mystery back. How does meaning affect molecules? How does expectation alter cells? The answer remains hidden. But speaking of hidden things in your body, the silence of space. There are more stars in the observable universe than grains of sand on every beach on Earth. Many of those stars have planets. Many of those planets exist in habitable zones. The universe is 14 billion years old, plenty of time for intelligent civilizations to arise, developed technology, and spread across the cosmos. So where is everyone? This is the Fermi paradox, named after physicist Enrico Fermi, who famously asked, "Where are they?" The math says we should have been contacted by now. We should see evidence of alien megastructures, detect their signals, notice their presence. Instead, we find cosmic silence. The explanations are either boring or terrifying. Maybe intelligent life is far rarer than we thought. Maybe civilizations inevitably destroy themselves before achieving interstellar travel. Maybe something out there eliminates emerging species. Some call this the Great Filter, an unknown barrier that prevents civilizations from spreading. The disturbing question is whether humanity has already passed the filter or if it still lies ahead. Every night, thousands of telescopes scan the sky, searching for a signal that never comes. We're either alone in an impossibly vast universe, or something is very, very wrong. And speaking of unexplained signals, time's one-way door. Drop a glass and it shatters, but you'll never see broken glass spontaneously reassemble itself. Eggs crack but never uncrack. Ice melts but doesn't unmelt on its own. Time flows in one direction from past to future, and we're so used to this that we rarely question it. But here's the problem. The fundamental laws of physics are time-symmetric. Run any equation backward and it still works. At the quantum level, there's no arrow of time. A video of particles bouncing around looks identical whether played forward or backward. So why does time only move forward for us? Why is the past fixed and the future open? The standard answer involves entropy, the tendency of systems to move from order to disorder. But this just raises more questions. Why was the universe so ordered at the Big Bang? Why does entropy always increase? Why do we remember the past but not the future? Some physicists suggest time itself might be an illusion, that past, present, and future all exist simultaneously in a frozen block universe. You're not moving through time. You just think you are. The true nature of time remains one of physics' greatest unsolved mysteries, and it connects to perhaps the strangest mystery of all, the math mystery. Here's something that should keep you up at night. Mathematics works. That sounds obvious until you really think about it. Humans invented mathematical symbols and equations. We created them in our minds. And yet these abstract inventions perfectly describe how the universe operates. Equations written on paper predict the existence of particles before we discover them. Mathematical models forecast the behavior of stars billions of light years away. The universe seems to be built on mathematics, as if reality itself runs on code. Physicist Eugene Wigner called this the unreasonable effectiveness of mathematics. Why should squiggles on a chalkboard mirror the structure of reality? There are only three possibilities. Either mathematics is somehow built into the fabric of existence, or our minds evolved specifically to perceive mathematical truths, or we're living in something like a simulation, a reality fundamentally computational in nature. None of these can be proven. Each one is deeply unsettling in its own way. We use mathematics every day without understanding why it works. We've built civilization on a foundation we cannot explain, and that might be the greatest mystery of all. 10 mysteries. 10 admissions that despite all our achievements, all our technology, all our brilliance, we're still children staring at an infinitely complex universe. But here's the thing. These mysteries aren't failures. They are invitations. Every unsolved question is a door waiting to be opened. Every gap in our knowledge is a chance for the next generation, maybe even you, to change everything we understand about reality. The greatest discoveries in history came from people who refused to accept we don't know as the final answer. So don't let these mysteries discourage you. Let them inspire you. Because somewhere in that darkness, in that vast unknown, lies the next revolution in human understanding. And it might be closer than anyone thinks. If this made you think, hit like and subscribe. The deepest questions deserve the deepest exploration.